Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So we're studying the life of Holy Mother, and though Swami Chetanananda does not stick to a linear timeline, we often find ourselves at the end, toward the end of Mother's life. And that's where we are this evening in this particular narration. One afternoon in 1920 at the Udbodhan house, Holy Mother was lying in bed. She was not well, but she was talking with her women devotees. In the course of conversation, they spoke of the monks of the monastery. Maku said about a monk, "He is a dandy monk. He is neat and clean and wears expensive clothes." Nalin commented that he was the son of a wealthy man, so that was why he was a little fastidious. Holy Mother remarked, "Look, it is renunciation and only renunciation that is needful in monastic life. Why is he so much inclined to external paraphernalia? Renunciation is the main ornament of a monk. He who collects all ingredients of a curry, will he not gather a little salt?" Renunciation is the main ornament of a monk. He who collects all ingredients of a curry, will he not gather a little salt? That's the end of the quote from Mother. In March of the same year, Holy Mother was under Ayurvedic treatment. One afternoon, Lakshmi and Ramlal and his daughter, Krishnamai, came to visit Holy Mother on their way to attend a festival at, someone say that word.
Archanale.
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 In Tali. Ramlal bowed down to the mother and then went downstairs to meet Sardananda. Lakshmi entertained Holy Mother and her companions with her singing and acting, as she used to do for the master in Dakshineshwar. By and by, Lakshmi raised the issue of the future temple in Kamarpukur. Lakshmi asked, "When the temple of the master is built, will it be under our management? Will the children of our family be worshippers there?" Holy Mother replied, "How can that be possible? As the devotees have no caste, so the monks of the Ramakrishna order do not observe caste distinction. People of various countries, including Westerners, will come and stay there, and they will also partake of prasad. We are connected with all sorts of devotees, whereas you are householders. You have your society, and we will have to follow social customs regarding marriages of your children and other things. How can you live with monastics?" The mother continued, the monks will build a separate house for you, as you have now. The mother continued, the monks will build a separate house for you, as you have now. Lakshmi asked, will Raghuveer and Shtala be installed inside the master's temple? Will Raghuveer and Shtala, these are the family deities of Sri Ramakrishna's people. How is that possible? Asked Holy Mother. These are your household duties, and the women folk of your family will worship them during festivals. The monks will build a separate small brick building for Raghuveer and Shtala. When you, Ramlal, or Shibu visit Kamarpukur, you will stay and eat with them. Lakshmi then went downstairs and reported everything that the mother had said to Ramlal and Saradananda. They wholeheartedly accepted the mother's proposal. Thus, during her lifetime, Holy Mother settled the management of the future Ramakrishna temple at the master's birthplace. Now, this is one of the things that we just, she was so quiet and so self-effacing that it isn't always clear, and that's why Chaitanananda makes such a point of this. It isn't always clear what a powerful force she was in shaping what the Ramakrishna order was at the time and became. So any comments or questions about what we just heard?
Namaste, Brother Shankara.
Hello there, Shaila.
Namaste. I was watching a documentary on Raman Maharshi, and most people think that, and I don't know if I've talked about it, but most people think that he was very, he was all glowing and very nice and peaceful and constantly being very, and that's what is projected, very, very self-efficacy. But that was not the case. He was very assertive, he was very strict, and he would be very, very, very strict and very outspoken about someone. For example, there was a lawyer who was actually feeding a peacock, and very nice scene, and he walked away and he said, you just go back, wherever you came from, don't come here again. Because he could read his mind that the lawyer was all thinking about his cases and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, talking about Holy Mother, seems like that picture has been created about her, that she was very self-effacing and very nice and everybody is always kind and all. But I'm sure that she was, and like we see here, she was very, very assertive about certain things when it comes to principles. Mm-hmm. And because probably they didn't want to show her that she took care of all these decisions. And in fact, even when Thakur was there, he would say, we don't worry about the calculativities. Just eat now. This is what I'm telling you. So she was very, very, in that sense, not commanding, but very clear about her identity and her thoughts. And though she did not go to school, that's what keeps on coming up. But that doesn't make any,
yes. As if the mother of the universe needed to go to school.
Yeah, some kind of, I mean, it's not, that's what I don't like about. I mean, I have so many relatives in my family that they never went to school and they were millionaires, and they are now. They were very, very rich people, very smart. My grandfather, my great-grandfather and whatnot. So this is something, and I've not read this book and I've not read about Holy Mother much about this part, but it's very nice to know this, because I knew that there was something behind this, which they have, not shown her, but now it's coming up. And more should be written more about her, I think, like that. So that people,
I'm sure as time goes on,
she was very clear about it.
As time goes on, such things will be written, yes.
Yeah.
More and more is being learned. Even as we speak, there are people in India, here in the United States and elsewhere, who are researching the lives of all of the great ones associated with the Master. Thank you, Shailesh. Anyone else? Anything?
I just want to add one comment to what is already said, Brother Shankara.
Yes,
Holy Mother exemplifies that she is truly a goddess because God doesn't discriminate religions, castes, and everybody he or she treats equal. So
yeah,
that's what she exactly shows, even in that time, in those times, hundreds of years ago. Uh,
yes. Well, she was very mindful of the social conventions
exactly.
in when she lived in Jairambati, when she was staying in Jairambati. She was very mindful of the social conventions as much as she could be.
Uh-huh.
Um,
That's true.
but it was very shocking to the people of Jairambati when Westerners and
Yes.
wealthy Calcutta people showed up and paid homage to Mother.
Mm.
They 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 it really puzzled some of them and troubled some of them.
Yes. It's still there. It's still there. But she was truly a god. We
Oh,
can see the goddess quality of her
right.
words. Thank you.
Thank you, Haima. Anyone else? Anything?
Yes, Brother Shankara.
Yes.
What I want to ask you is, was there at any time disagreement between Ram Krishna and the Holy Mother?
There's no record of any real disagreement between Holy Mother and Ramakrishna about things, except that one time Sri Ramakrishna, his young men devotees were with him, several of them, and it was time to eat, and um, this is the kind of disagreement that would arise. The master said, "Give them each 2 luchis," and Mother said, "I am their mother. I'll give them as many luchis as they want." And so that kind of thing was there. But no real disagreements between them about. I mean, they were. This is. It seems to us that they were 2 beings. They kept saying over and over that they were in fact 1 being in 2 forms. So there couldn't have been any fundamental disagreement um, in a divine presence that was for its own purposes taking 2 forms. But I've never read any record of any serious disagreement between Mother and Sri Ramakrishna. She would sometimes admonish him to take better care of himself. He,
Thank you.
he of course, didn't pay that much attention to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone? All right. From the very inception of the Ramakrishna order, Holy Mother nourished the monks and devotees with her love and affection. She demonstrated the ideal of the order through her own life. She always pointed out the goal of monastic life: purity and renunciation, unselfishness and truthfulness, mutual love and respect, selfless service, and dependence on God. So I'm going to repeat that list. It's really quite impressive. Holy Mother always pointed out the goal of monastic life: purity and renunciation, unselfishness and truthfulness, mutual love and respect, selfless service, and dependence on God. To the householders, she also set the examples of an ideal householder's life. In times of difficulty or crisis, she protected the order with her wise counsel and spiritual power. In times of difficulty or crisis, she protected the order with her wise counsel and spiritual power. She was the order's source of inspiration and spiritual power. That is why she is called the mother of the order. we've come to a new chapter, chapter 25, titled Mother of All. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Matri Rupena Samstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha. Chandi. Salutations to the Divine Mother who exists in all beings as the Mother. Salutations to her again and again. Ordinary people think of a mother as a woman who gives birth to children, raises them, takes care of the household, and holds the family together. She might not be as physically strong as a man, but she is more patient and has more perseverance and endurance than most men. Her love and affection, selfless service and care, compassion and forgiveness make her great. In fact, a mother or wife is the anchor of a house, and without her, the house seems a desert. The Hindu scripture says, someone will have to read that Sanskrit.
Grihini griham uchate.
Housewife makes the house.
House, exactly.
There's another old saying, men make houses and women make homes. And I think any of us who look clearly at the successful married couples that we know see that that is precisely true. Men make or buy houses, but the women make them homes. The Hindu scripture says that all women in the world are parts of the Divine Mother, but they cannot be considered the mother of all because they have a limitation. They do not feel and care for the children of others as they do for their own. In the Chandi it says, all mythologies and scriptures are your aspects, O Devi. So are all women in the world with their various attributes. The Hindu scripture says that the Hindu scripture says that all women in the world are parts of the Divine Mother, but they cannot be considered the mother of all because they have a limitation. They do not feel and care for the children of others as they do their own. Holy Mother was truly the mother of all because she was an incarnation of the Divine Mother. She knew that she exists in all beings as the mother, and that all living beings, men and women, birds and beasts, trees and plants, emerged from her cosmic body. Now I'm going to repeat that because that's something for us to hold and, so to speak, engrave in our hearts. Holy Mother was truly the mother of all because she was an incarnation of the Divine Mother. She knew that she exists in all beings as the mother, and that all living beings, men and women, birds and beasts, trees and plants, emerged from her cosmic body. There is a prayer in the Chandi, the Devi Mahatmyam, 700 verses to the Divine Mother in the form of Durga. There is a prayer in the Chandi, O Mother, you are the infinite power. O Mother, you are the infinite power of God and the supreme Maya, which is the source of the universe. O Devi, you have enchanted the whole world with your divine enchantment. When you are gracious, you bestow liberation upon human beings. So before we go on, we've reached a subhead, Mother of the Universe. Before we go on, are there any comments or questions about Holy Mother as this being?
I just want to make one comment, Brother Shankara.
Yes, dear.
It's about the qualities of monastic life. We can all work hard to adapt all those qualities. They're all wonderful qualities: purity, renunciation, unselfishness, truthfulness, mutual love and respect, selfless service, and dependence on God. It's
Yes,
not
that's absolutely true, Haima.
exactly.
And yet, for the householder who does not have the shield of the monastic vows,
Yes.
as Sri Ramakrishna says, the householder fights the battle with both hands, with a sword in both hands.
I see.
In the householder's left hand, they are fighting the sword, they are fighting the battle of life.
Thank you.
Life in the family, taking care of making a house, a home, a family, getting the necessary. That is done with that hand. The spiritually oriented householder, he says, the true hero, is also fighting a battle with the right hand. The sword in that hand is attempting to manifest all of the things that you just mentioned.
Mhm. Thank you.
Swami Swahananda pointed out over and over, and he was very loving and forgiving. He was the embodiment of the mother, Swami Swahananda. Pointed out over and over, in the life of householders, there is the need for compromise. And the mature personality, the mature ego, sees where these compromises must be made. And the idea from the Swamis, certainly from Swahananda and Prabhupada, was that there is nothing but love and forgiveness for those times when compromise must be made.
Thank you.
And so it's good not to be too hard on ourselves, particularly when we bloody our nose or skin our knees on the difficulties of life. A trip and a fall is going to happen unless one is playing it so safe that they're never going to make any progress anywhere. As Swami Vivekananda said, we fall 1,000 times, we rise 1,001 times. So it's very important that we not be overly hard on ourselves. And when we have that compassion for ourselves, then it's possible for us to be compassionate with others and not judgmental. Thank you, Haima. You're right. We can all try to manifest those qualities. But as householders who have no shield, life can sometimes be very hard indeed.
Thank you, Brother.
Anything else from anyone? All right.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Swayam.
how do we get to where we are running more towards God? Because we realize um I can't think of the word, but the wholeness or the joy of running towards God rather than running away from the world.
Well, we must never run away from the world. We must always, as the Swami Vivekananda was once in a situation where there were many large monkeys. And one time he was being chased by a troop of these monkeys. And this holy man called out to him, "Stand and face the brutes." Swamiji had the wit to do that. And he turned, stood, and faced the brutes, the monkeys. These were large monkeys. And they stopped and then ran away. So we must never run away from the world. But you said the right words when you said, run toward God. Run or walk, crawl when we must. Sometimes we are reduced to crawling. Sometimes we're reduced to just sitting in a pool of tears and praying to be able to crawl, walk, or run toward God. The answer to your question, how, is recollectedness. As we were saying on Sunday, divinize your life, deify your life. Give everything in life a Godward turn. Give everything in life a Godward turn. And as Swami Prabhavananda said, the reason we're on this path is we have seen a shining light. Somehow that has been awakened in us, this sense of the shining light, which he characterized as being in the east. He said, here we're in the land, we're in the west, the land of death, the land of rebirth and death. We see this shining light in the east. We begin to move toward it. As you said, you characterized it as running. He didn't make that high a demand, just walking. You begin walking toward that light in the east. And as you do, and you become more and more fascinated by, compelled by the feeling that you must attain this light, you must make this light your own, the easier it is to walk away from the things of the West. But you're not running away from the world. You're moving toward the light, the realization. And he says, as you do that, you find that the things of the West are left behind spontaneously. When we fix our attention on God in our hearts and do our best to recollect that day in and day out, hour in and hour out, minute in and minute out, that grows in us because it was always there in all its fullness. It is only our willingness and ability to remain distracted that caused us to not feel it, appreciate it, be compelled by it. But we must not be impatient. We must not be impatient with ourselves or with others, because that is just another form of distraction. Impatience is just, when we're impatient, we're thinking something other than what is happening in this moment should be happening. And so we're focused away from the truth of the moment. Now, of course we do that. Of course we do that. We have our memories and our reveries. We have our projections into the future. And we get impatient. But when we catch ourselves, we can say to ourselves, wait a minute. This is just another distraction. This is just another way of keeping myself distracted from the truth that exists fully right here in this moment. And so that's why I said it's not good to think of running away from, or for that matter, running toward. Because if we're running and then we're not running fast enough, we get impatient with ourselves. Thank you, Swayam.
Thank you, Brother Shankara, for that very encouraging and practical answer.
Good. Anything else from anyone? Okay, we've got another half hour. Wonderful. Mother of the universe. In the Vedanta tradition, a person's spiritual experience is ascertained in two ways. Someone say the Sanskrit, please.
It is Swa Samvedya.
Swa Samvedya, which means those thoughts and spiritual visions that are seen within oneself and which are known only to oneself. And para samvidya, so swa, those thoughts and spiritual visions that are seen within oneself and which are known only to oneself. And para samvidya, which means a person's thoughts and experiences that are visible to others. Holy Mother herself declared that she was the mother of the universe, and her life, speech, actions, and dealings with people convinced others that her statement was true. Rush Bahari, later Swami Arupananda, a young man from East Bengal, went to meet Holy Mother at Jairambati on 1 February 1907. She was very fond of him because of his simplicity and guilelessness, and she made him one of her attendants. He was also very free with the mother. The following dialogue between the two reveals Holy Mother's true nature. He was very free with her. The following dialogue between them reveals Holy Mother's true nature. He wrote, I used to visit the mother almost daily in her room. She would lie down on her bed and talk to me with Radu lying asleep by her side. An oil lamp cast a dim light in the room. On some days, a maidservant rubbed her feet with medicated oil for rheumatism. One day she said to me in the course of conversation, whenever the thought of a disciple comes to my mind, and I yearn to see him, then he either comes here or writes a letter to me. You must have come here prompted by a certain feeling. Perhaps you have in your mind the thought of the Divine Mother of the universe. Are you the mother of the universe? Are you the mother of all? I asked. Perhaps you have in your mind the thought of the Divine Mother of the universe. Are you the mother of all? I asked. Mother replied, yes. Even of the subhuman beings, birds and animals? Yes, of these also. Then why should they suffer so much? In this birth, they must have these experiences. According to Vedanta, Brahman is existence, consciousness, bliss, absolute. I'll repeat that. According to Vedanta, Brahman is existence, consciousness, bliss, absolute. Brahman is neither he nor she. But when the power of Brahman takes form, it can be either Purusha or Prakriti, he or she. Moreover, the personal God can be both father and mother. A devotee once questioned Holy Mother's active role in the Master's spiritual ministry, saying that the spiritual consorts of other avatars did not take such roles. The devotee asked why she was different. Now I'm going to repeat that little intro to this because what's said is so powerful. A devotee once questioned Holy Mother's active role in the Master's spiritual ministry, saying that the spiritual consorts of other avatars did not take such roles. The devotee asked why she was different. She replied, "My son, you are aware that the Master saw the Divine Mother in all beings. This time he left me behind to demonstrate that motherhood in this universe." And that's why Swami Chaitananda created this book. And it is the reason, it is the deep reason for us to study this book. Why was she different than Radha or Rukmini or Sita? Or for that matter, the Buddha's wife. My son, you are aware that the Master saw the Divine Mother in all beings. This time he left me behind to demonstrate that motherhood in this universe. Holy Mother as protector. Prabodh Chandra Chattopadhyay and his wife were disciples of Holy Mother. They lived in Shyambazar village, which is 12 miles from Jayarambati. Inspired by the mother, Prabodh started a high school in Badanganji
Yes.
and became the first headmaster of that school. Ramai, later Swami Gaurishwarananda, was one of his first students. Prabodh was also president of the village union board, but because of his popularity, he had some enemies. His son, Shiva Prasad Chattopadhyay, wrote, "I heard this incident from my father. Once he was visiting Jayarambati. A man came there and gave him a letter with this message: please return to your home this evening. My father got ready to return home and went to bow down to the mother. A man came there and gave him a letter with this message: please return to your home this evening. My father got ready to return home and went to bow down to the mother. At that time, a few villagers had some enmity against my father for various reasons. It came to light later that there was a plot to murder my father that evening near a secluded canal on his way home. Upon hearing of the letter, the mother asked my father, "Do you recognize the handwriting of the person who has written this letter?" "Yes, I do, mother." "Do you know the person who has come with the letter?" "No, mother, I don't know him." Then the mother said, "My son, do not go home tonight. Tomorrow morning, go home through a different route via Marageri with watchman Ambika and Ramai." So the mother, hearing about the letter, said, Then the mother said, "My son, do not go home tonight. Tomorrow morning, go home through a different route via Marageri with the watchman Ambika and Ramai." My father bowed down to the mother and said, "All right, mother, I shall not go tonight. I shall go tomorrow morning, according to your instruction." The next morning he returned home with Ambika and Ramai via Marageri. My father later said, "I never disobeyed the mother's order, whatever it might be." My father did not know about the murder plot, but the omniscient mother knew it. If you remember, the subhead was Mother the Protector. I heard from my father that a case was concocted so that he should return home that night. Long after my father's passing away, I verified this incident, which took place in 1917 through Swami Gaurishwarananda. And remember, it was Ramai who became Swami Gaurishwarananda. The story of a Muslim bandit named Amzad also shows how Holy Mother protected those who took refuge in her. It is a fascinating tale of a Muslim robber who became a devotee of the Mother and played a wonderful role in her divine drama. Human beings are not born with friends or enemies. They make friends and enemies through their actions and their words. There is a saying, "A small-minded person discriminates between a relative and a stranger, but all are considered relatives to a great soul." The life and teachings of an avatar or an illumined soul are not the exclusive property of a particular clan or a country or a religion. They belong to the whole of humanity. Their universal outlook breaks all barriers between human beings and religion. Holy Mother made Muslims and Christians her own through her maternal love and affection. Now, before we go on to this, the next subhead is the story of Amzad, which is a fascinating one. Are there any comments or questions about what's been said so far? About the mother and who she was and the fact that she freely confessed to some that she was the mother of every living being as well as all that is apparently to us inert. Okay. The story of Amzad. Say that word, please, Haima.
The Shiromanipur.
Say it again, please.
Shiromanipur.
Shiromanipur. Shiromanipur is a predominantly Muslim village located 3 miles from Jairambati. Its inhabitants were forced by the English to make their living by cultivating silkworms. But the local silk industry could not compete with imported silk industries, so the villagers lost their jobs. Growing silk had kept them from cultivating rice and crops, so they had no food. To survive, they were forced to become bandits. The neighboring villagers were afraid and kept a vigilant eye on them. People refused to give them jobs, thinking they might return at night to steal. As the saying goes, bad times do not come alone. In 1915-16, there was a drought and famine in the Bankura district. The poor had no food, so they became desperate. During this time, a Muslim villager named Amzad was caught in a robbery and sent to jail. Amzad's mother, Fatima, and his wife,
Matizan.
Matizam, came to Holy Mother for help. She fed them puffed rice and molasses, and then gave them rice, oil, cloths, and a rupee. When news of her assistance spread, other Muslim families came to Mother, and she helped them also. Eventually, the Ramakrishna Mission opened a relief center in Kualpura for the destitute. This, from the very beginning, this is what they did. The rich and middle class people of Sihar, so they say those words for me.
Oh, okay. It says Sihar, Jipta, and Pului, I would say.
And Shambazar remained indifferent. The rich and middle class people of those villages, those places, remained indifferent. All these years, the mother was living in her old cottage and using her two brothers' cottages for her disciples and out-of-town guests. As the number of disciples was increasing, Swami Sardananda felt that Mother needed a house of her own. Construction began on her new house in April 1915, and it was formally opened on 15 May 1916. Bibhuti Ghosh, the mother's disciple, hired Amzad and other Muslim workers to construct the house, which had a thatched roof, a mud floor, and mud walls. Swami Arupananda was in charge of the construction. Some narrow-minded, fearful villagers tried to discourage Holy Mother from hiring convicted thieves, but she did not listen to them. She treated the Muslim workers with kindness and talked to them in her soft, sweet voice. Those Muslim workers, many of whom were formerly bandits, called her mother. Observing their good behavior, the villagers later said, "By Mother's grace, even those robbers have become devotees of God." One day, the mother invited Amzad for lunch and served him on the porch of her house. Owing to caste prejudices, Nalini, the mother's niece, threw the food at Amzad's leaf plate from a distance. Because of caste prejudice, Nalini threw the food at Amzad's leaf plate from a distance. Holy Mother noticed this and said, "How can one enjoy food when it is served with such scorn? Let me wait on him properly." After Amzad finished his meal, Holy Mother cleaned the place where he had sat with her own hands. Nalini shrieked, "Aunt, you have lost your caste." "Keep quiet," the mother scolded her. As was remarked earlier, the mother could be stern. "Keep quiet," the mother scolded her. Then she asked, "As Sharat is my son, exactly so is Amzad." "Keep quiet," the mother scolded her. Then she added, "As Sharat is my son, Exactly so is Amzad. Sharat was a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, the secretary of the Ramakrishna mission, and a monk endowed with saintly virtues. Amzad was a Muslim and a convicted robber. Thus, Holy Mother demonstrated that she is the mother of the good and the bad. She also showed that kind treatment can kindle faith in the heart of a weak, lowly man and prove to him that he is a son of the Divine Mother. Her example brought to life the words of Krishna, I am the same toward all beings. To me, there is none hateful or dear, but those who worship me with devotion, they are in me, and I too am in them. Holy Mother's example brought to life the words of Krishna. I am the same toward all beings. To me, there is none hateful or dear, but those who worship me with devotion, they are in me, and I am in them. Does anyone have a question about what is meant by Krishna's statement?
Oh, these pages are so beautiful, Brother Shankara. So inspiring, so inspiring. And
Thank
that
you.
is very true. She said it so kindly, treating them with the same way, good and bad alike. There was a change in Amzad and his family. It's so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Aimo. Anything else from anyone? Okay, we've got a few minutes. We'll go on. About 2 years later, now this was, remember, the house was commissioned in 1916, so we're talking about 1918, something like that. About 2 years later, Holy Mother was in Jairambati, bedridden with malarial fever. Devotees from various places came to see her. One morning, a brahmachari attending her noticed that an emaciated man of dark complexion, clad in rags and leaning on a stick, had entered the house. As he approached the mother's room, her eyes fell upon him. Who is here? Who is there? She said in a feeble voice. Is this my child Amzad? Come in. Amzad stepped onto the veranda, sat at the threshold of the room, and began to converse with the mother about his painful life. Observing that the mother was freely talking to him, the brahmachari left the room. He later returned to pick up the jar of Ganges water that was in the mother's room. Generally, when the mother was well, she offered food to the master after sprinkling Ganges water in the kitchen. That day, the brahmachari was supposed to offer the food. Now he was in a dilemma. He could not ask Amzad to leave without offending the mother, yet his caste prejudice was pricking his conscience. He would have to pass close by a Muslim to get to the jar of water. However, he decided to carry out his duty, thinking that if it was wrong, the mother would stop him. After offering food, he came back and put the holy water. After offering food, he came back and put the holy water in the mother's room. She watched everything, but said nothing. At Holy Mother's request, Amzad was given oil to rub on his body, allowed to bathe in the pond, given a new cloth, and fed with good food until his stomach was full. That afternoon, as Amzad was returning home, chewing a beetle roll, that's for those of you who don't know, a beetle roll is a tasty and very mildly intoxicating, very mildly intoxicating treat. That afternoon, as Amzad was returning home, chewing a beetle roll, he seemed to be a completely different person. He carried in his bundle many gifts, including a bottle of Ayurvedic oil from the mother. That Ayurvedic oil, of course, had been given to her for treatment of the rheumatism in her legs. Later, Holy Mother told the brahmachari Amzad was unable to sleep because he had taken some kind of strong drug that overheated his brain. I had kept I'm sorry, I was wrong about the oil. I had kept a bottle of Narayan oil with me for a long time, and I gave it to him. It will cool his brain if he uses it. That oil is very effective. So it was oil to put on his head. Amzad soon recovered his health. Whenever he was informed that something needed to be done in the mother's house, he came immediately and performed the task faithfully. Once the mother lost her appetite due to a prolonged illness, and the doctor suggested that she eat pineapples. That fruit was not in season in Jairambati. However, word was sent to Amzad, who searched in different villages until he found some pineapples for the mother. Despite the mother's affection, Amzad did not abandon his life of crime. The people of Jairambati were afraid of him, but due to his devotion to the mother, her village was free from robbery. Once, after being released from jail, Amzad returned home and found some pumpkins growing on his vine. He picked them and went straight to the mother in Jairambati. I have been thinking of you for a long time, Holy Mother said. Where have you been all these days? He frankly replied that he had been in jail because he had stolen a cow. The mother paid no heed to his crime and said with great kindness, I was worried by your long absence. Amzad was the leader of a gang of thieves. Vibhuti Ghosh recalled the following story, which Holy Mother told him with a smile. O Vibhuti, have you heard of Amzad's wit and intelligence? An immoral girl from an oil caste family of Sihar had a paramour. She offered money to Amzad to kill her husband. She told him to knock at her door gently at night, and she would open the door. He would murder her husband and leave immediately. According to the plan, Amzad knocked on the door at night, and the girl opened it. But instead of killing her husband, Amzad snatched her earrings and ran away. As a result, Amzad was sent to jail. But notice how the mother admired his wit and intelligence. She wanted to kill her husband so she could be with her paramour. Amzad was having none of it. All right, it's 9 o'clock. We'll leave it there. We'll pick it up there next week. Any final thoughts or questions from anyone? This business of being mother of the universe Mother left this instruction for us. Whenever you are in distress, when you are in distress, remember you have a mother. We can ask anything of her. We've been given illustrations of her love and concern for those who are headed for illumination. And we've been given illustrations of her love and concern and even admiration for people of a very different way of life. There is absolutely nothing that we cannot take to the mother. Nothing. This is what Chaitanananda is trying to portray to us. That there, when we hear the word infinite, this is Mother's compassion. This is her love. This is, it knows no limitation. Now, you've heard it said from here before. In the going on 11 years that I've been here, and this doesn't even count the times before in Hollywood, but in the time that I've been here, I have seen a half dozen instances in which the mother has been called upon and things changed. Now you can say it's coincidence, you can say whatever you like. I think there's good reason to prefer to believe that the mother is keeping her promise and that she will answer our call and our prayer. Oftentimes it's not, what happens is not necessarily what the person was asking, but something good happened, something very positive and with good momentum forward. So any other comments or questions before we wind it up? All right, dears. Mother of the universe, our mother. O beloved mother, a flower at your feet for each one who comes to your open door. A flower at your blessed feet for each one who stands by your open door and says, come to me, offering to break this world's chain that binds us down to ignorance, suffering, and death. A flower at your beloved feet for each one who takes the path that you have struck through this, your jungle world. Om, Amen. Om, Amen. Om, Amen. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga, Durga, Durga. May you be safe, may you be healthy, may you be cheerful, may you have peace of mind. Please go forward in Mother's loving and protective embrace. Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Until next week,
Hariom.
or until tomorrow night if you choose to join us for the Jnana Yoga class. Oh, just a little plug for this coming Sunday. If you haven't heard Dr. Lloyd Allen speak, he's with the McAfee School of Theology at Mercer University. He's really a remarkable man, and he studied very deeply the life, the work, and the teachings of Thomas Merton. And his topic this Sunday is titled Stages of Faith, Killing Lesser Gods. And if you look on the website or in the newsletter, you'll see the quote from Merton that is the wellspring of what he'll talk to us about. And it's really quite inspiring. So I can't strongly enough encourage you to be with us on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock to hear Dr. Lloyd Allen. He's spoken before, and people have always really been very gratified by what he had to say and uplifted. So good night, everyone. Until
Good
next
night.
time.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
Good night, Gary.
Oh, Beverly, there you
Hi there.
are. That's you. That's you. That's actually your picture. Hello. I didn't know who that was. I wasn't focusing on the name. I'm so glad to see you, dear.
Thank you very much.
For those of you who
I really enjoyed this evening's talk.
Good. Well, for those of you who don't know, Beverly is one of my oldest and dearest friends. We go back to high school days, and she, I mean, that's 1958 and 1959. That's eons ago.
Long ago.
Long ago. And Beverly still lives in California, in Oroville, California, northeast central California.
Well, I think that you all have a wonderful little temple and a little group of people that I really enjoy visiting with.
And we're very glad you come, Beverly.
Thank you.
And I'm glad to see your picture. That I wondered who that was. I just didn't peer closely enough at who it was. It's listed on the screen.
Yes, I finally figured out how to put it on there.
Okay, very good. All right, dear hearts, good night to you.